back with another note.
Good morning. I'm going to be doing a series of videos, and each one of them will cover how to PR every single boss, like all the bosses, even though there's not that many. And I know a lot of you might not care to PR some of them because they're too hard, you don't like them, or they don't have an item yet, which not all of them do. But regardless, I'm going to be doing that. In due time, I will post all of them, but for now, we're doing uncertified. These will contain tips, tricks, you know, all that good stuff. All the stuff you need to know in order to actually be uncertified. So without further ado, I hope this helps even a little bit. Even if you're the most pro of player, or maybe you're new and you want a challenge, I hope this helps. Alright, I'm splitting up this video into sections. So there's going to be like a prepare section, like prep. There's going to be a wave structure section. There's also going to be a boss section, and then there's like a threat level chart of all the each dummies and, like, you know, what weapons they roll with, how to deal with them, and their threat level. And then the last one, I have a little special section where I asked my friend on some tips, so there might be a bit of repetition there, but it's fine. The first section we're going to go over is the preparation section, prepare, whatever. I recommend a small group around 3 to 5 because the way Uncertified works is because that in a larger group, spawns are spread out more and increased to account for the higher player count. So you're going to have more spawns with more people, but there's going to be less spawns with less people. That's why I recommend 3 to 5. If you're doing it by yourself, that's also okay, but I'd at least recommend one buddy with you. The statue, known as a silly statue, has a base health of 12,500 that decreases by 500 for every player in the server. So like 10 people, 5k gone. 16 people, it's like 5,000. So you don't get that much in a full server. That's why I said small servers are the way to go here. So the statue gets increased HP in a small lobby and lowers in larger lobbies. A little confusing, but yeah, try to keep it small. Reroll if you need to by going in and out of the boss. It might take a while to get what you want, but focus on getting upgradables or very strong weapons like Night Reaper, Stick, Real Knife. For range, try getting like the Pixel Gun, Lily Net, Ebony and Ivory. And for the third slot, Holy Mantle, Speed Boost items, or anything that heals or supports you or your teammates. There's obviously a lot more than what I just listed that could work, but these are usually my go-to items. Just reroll on and try to make what you have work. If you think the protest or bomb on a stick works, I mean, heck, go ahead, I guess. You're lost. But who knows, I've seen people probably win bosses with just a bottle. So, just try, I guess. Here's a map of the entire area, and do take note that the blue one is where, like, you actually spawn in. The gray thing is the statue, and the red points are where the dummies actually spawn in. So try to memorize each area and find out a good way to cover each lane. Don't spawn camp though, I really do, especially in Perfect Run. In public servers, it's okay, I guess, but I never ever recommend it because all dummies, including camis, get respawn shields, like we do. So even though it's invisible, it might not look like it, they do get it. So that duration that the respawn shield is, I'm not sure what it is. It's like 1 second, 1.5, 2. That's more than enough time for you to get instantly killed. So I do not recommend spawn camping at all in Perfect Runs. Even if you have the most cracked loadout, it's just like assigning a free waiver to get killed. So I do not recommend it. By the way, while the waves get a bit harder as you progress, do take note that around at the 50% mark, it could be a little more, a little less, that the wave counting percentage is very odd. Basically, when you see the red outline on all the ads, that's when all the dummy spawns will refresh. Once you finish killing all the outlined enemies, well, if it's not at the end, obviously, and you're at the halfway point, you see that red outline. Once you kill all of them, they'll refresh the spawns. They won't change the location, rather they reset the spawn. Like, it sounds a bit weird, but let me explain. When the wave refreshes, all the mages and cami dummies will respawn. Soldiers and combat dummies respawn too, but that's no big deal. They're fine. The big part of it is that the mages and camis respawn. Those are the like really bad ones, because around the 50% mark, that's when they come back. So always stay vigilant and be a little wary around the halfway point of each wave. I mean, it's better to be safe than sorry, right? It's so much better, especially when you have one life to work with. Next, let's go over the wave structure. Courtesy of the wiki, I'll be reading this out for you guys. I totally didn't steal all of it, I swear. Wave 1. This wave serves as an introductory stage to the boss, beginning spawning with only hostile combat dummies. That's it. Combat dummies, that's all. Combat dummy. These combat dummies have 50 HP and use their fists dealing 15 damage as default. They used to do a little less, but they got buffed at one point, I'm pretty sure. They have 17 speed, not 16, so they're a little bit faster than you, so watch out. They swing fast, so also watch out to not get ganged up on. They also might have a melee weapon, which can be easy to identify, but do keep caution when encountering one of these. It's still only wave 1, so since only combat dummies spawn in, there's not much to really worry about. However, some combat dummies can be really deadly if lacking preparation. The combat dummies with like London, Scythe, Dragon Slayer, Stick, Bob M on a stick, and the Dang. These are completely horrible to deal with. These could be like really lethal if the player comes in contact with one of these. Or they can send you flying across the map and even over the edge if you're unlucky. I've never had that happen. I've seen it happen to other people, but I do not recommend camping out at the corner. Like I said earlier, do not spawn camp, do not hang out around the edges or corners. That's just like asking for a death sentence. Though sometimes if you have match sheriff in your inventory, you should be more mindful of combat dummies wielding mad murder, as one hit from them can be fatal. Though on the other hand, you can also one-shot them. So both you guys get one shot, it's whoever hits the other first. Like I said earlier, even the wiki says it's best to avoid spawn camping in their spawn point, as they have a breathe force field and may take down the player with a dangerous weapon. Yeah, exactly. It's not visible, it used to be, but it's not. So I really recommend staying away from their spawns. At least stay like, I recommend staying within like melee distance almost, but like just far enough so they can easily run away or easily engage. That distance where you're like in the gold zone where you can like engage or leave. So you can see them spawning, but they can't actually get to you yet. That's the perfect area to camp out at. Not too far, not too close. That's the good part. Note that combat dummies will always spawn throughout the next waves unless it's after beating wave 4. All 3 slots show as counter at combat. Obviously they get replaced, but otherwise, yeah, they're always there. They're gonna be the bread and butter of the uncertified force. They're gonna be everywhere, so watch out for them. I also recommend using combat dummies for upgrading weapons because they're just completely harmless. Like they are no threat at all, usually. Even if they have like a really powerful weapon like a stick or the Dang, if you have a good range you want to upgrade, or even like a real knife that can out DPS it, yeah, you go ahead, you can upgrade. Next is wave 2. 3 cami dummies begin to spawn with combat dummies, and combat soldiers appear at the 50% mark. Also with combat dummies, like I said, the refresh happens. However, cami dummies stop spawning after 50% of wave 2. This is the only time where you don't get the cami refresh, I think, but still be wary because more soldiers and stuff spawn in. It's 3 cami dummies by default, I'm pretty sure, by yourself, but do take note, in larger servers, it could be way more, obviously, so it's not going to be 3, so just know that at the start, you're going to get a whole wave of bombs. And let's go over the cami dummy. They only have 15 health, but they move really quick. They have 24 speed. There's literally a kit named after them, so they do 250 damage with the bomb if used. Just don't get hit by them, it's pretty obvious. They're really squishy and they die quick. If avoiding is not a viable strategy, try to move away from the cami dummy. They will instead target the statue, though this is kind of a risk if the team allows multiple cami dummies to hit the statue in the next few waves. So I don't recommend letting too many leak. You can let a big amount of them leak, especially in a small server where you have an insane amount of statue health. Because even 10 camis, that's only 2,500 health. That is a lot of health to work with still. But I don't recommend it still. Just let a handful leak. If you can avoid it, do it. If you really need to, then you can let them leak. Also on wave 2, combat soldiers spawn. They have 75 HP, so a little bit more than a normal combat dummy, just 25 more. But they have rifles, they have long range attacks, they have really bad aim at like farther range, but when you're up close, they have aimbot. I do not recommend trying to melee them at all. Their missiles are also pretty easy to dodge. They're a bit slow. They hit pretty hard though, so I don't recommend trying to like bait the missile too much if you're up close, because it's easier to hit up close as opposed to afar. But generally, they're not too much of a threat by themselves. But in a group of soldiers are heading towards the statue, now is the time to actually be a little afraid. Be afraid. Because their like whole bullet storm is just, it is horrible to deal with. I really do not recommend letting them group up. That is like a death sentence by yourself. Using melee attacks may not be always the best idea, like I said. They can weaken the player and leave you vulnerable to other attacks, because as soon as you get done with killing one, you're like one shot, you're already about to die. And if anything else appears your way, then like, yeah, you're finished. So only melee if you can easily gang up on them. It's like a 1 versus 3. That's when you can gang up on them in melee. If ever next to a group of soldiers, strafe off to your team as they can melt one's health. Like I said, yeah, they do a lot of damage. They won't one-shot you, but a single mag dump can leave you really close to dying. Also, if it wasn't obvious, combat soldiers are pretty leaving themselves wide open. They're very obvious with the way they shoot out missiles. the indication of when soldiers are going to fire missiles is shown. So like with a loud sound, they do a little beep 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 beep. I'm pretty sure if you played Garden Warfare 2, you know it's very obvious. So once you hear that sound, that's when you back off. But also they can malfunction, and when they die, they can also shoot it out still. So even if you kill them, I recommend staying away from the soldiers because they can like malfunction and blow up on you with the missile. It's very weird. I haven't died from it, but you can't get hit by it, so I don't recommend that. Combat dummies are also like shields for the soldiers since they're like fast, and then they like meat shields basically. So they're almost working as like an actual player group would. So kill the meat shields first, then prioritize the soldiers. They also can be killed to heal some HP. You get 25 health back per kill. Maybe kill a few if you're low, and then once you're done with all that, then you can focus soldiers. Wave 3 is essentially the 50% mark of Wave 2, but with Cami dummies. Cami dummies spawn more frequently here, so take caution. Like I said, the wave refresh, watch out for that. There's not much to note here except to pay attention to Cami dummies, as it's easy to get distracted when battling other enemies. Like I said, it's happened to me many times. You get tunnel vision, you focus too much on a single lane or a single group of ads, and you just get blown up out of nowhere. So like I said, snipe Cami dummies far away because like what is the saying? Nip the bud while it's still young. I don't know what it is, but do that because you do not want a Cami dummy up in your face where you can't react as quick as opposed to afar. Because once it's up close, like you almost 99% chance dead. So I recommend doing it far. I don't want any near miss incidents from you guys. It's terrifying. It's very scary. Wave 4 is where it starts to get a little bit more difficult because that's where combat mages start to spawn in. I think it's at around the halfway point when the wave refresh happens, but correct me if I'm wrong. It's either at the start, the refresh point, or both. A few mages spawn in the first half of the wave, but increase in number in the second half. Alright, well, there it is, I guess. I guess I didn't read it, but yeah. Lots of mages spawn in, especially at the halfway point, so wait for that. Wait for them to all spawn in. Combat mages can cast a variety of spells, including a fireball, electric bolt, and explosion, which it's very weird. It's like a wind blast. I don't know. They can even melee you with their spell book, by the way. It hits pretty hard, so I don't recommend it. It's slow, but it hits hard. Mages are able to stun lock, making them deadly if you can't manage them well. They have around 50 health, so they're like a combat dummy. They're wearing a hat. They're a little bit smarter, I assume. But they are very deadly. In a group, they can just easily stun lock you, so I recommend 1v1ing them, 2v1ing, just a battle you can actually win. I also don't recommend getting hit by the explosion. Of all the spells, the explosion and any of the ones that stun you are the worst. They all stun you, but like the fireballs and explosions are okay because they move you away. But also you can get unlucky and get launched into a Cami dummy. But here's the list below to like handle each spell carefully. So the fireball, it's a slow moving projectile that applies burn. It can be easily dodged, but if it does hit, you'll be knocked back. An electric ball is pretty fast. It's really quick, I think, but it's like a really small one. But it can catch you off guard. But if it hits you, you'll be stunned, and you can be just easily killed during that time. The explosion is a wind-up attack that spawns on the nearest player at the position they were not at, but like they were in when the mage first cast the spell. Yeah, it's not that much of a threat since you're always moving. And then the smack, like I said, it's just a book smack. If you're in close proximity to a mage, it will hit you with its book, causing a ragdoll effect for a short period of time. The base attack deals 7.5 damage with an additional 7.5 damage per hit. So it's not that strong, but it's slow. It's easy to dodge. But it does do knockback and ragdoll you, I'm pretty sure, so watch out. Don't ever run away from the team when mages start to spawn, as multiple mages may spawn next to the player, and we'll probably stun lock them. Yeah, like I said, if you're in a team, always stay together, because in a group, you are stronger together, because the mages will just easily stun lock you. Like 2 or 3 mages, you're just done. But in a group, they have more people to target. That means you have a chance to escape and actually kill them. I also recommend prioritizing mages first, even not more than a Cami, but like second tier, below a Cami. Those two are high priority. Cami slightly more because of the one shot, but the mages also because of the stun locking. So I recommend staying close to the statue, but not so close that when a Cami dummy leaks and hits the statue, you don't die. It hits the statue, but not you, right? In wave 5, this is where the danger really sets in, depending on what slots to roll, or what the slot machine rolls. I'm not sure what it's called. I will get to the bosses later as they're in their own section. But speaking of dummies, let me read the wiki's guide on how to take out each dummy and assess their quote-unquote threat level. Alright, here's our threat level chart. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 threats. Threatless, low threat, medium threat, high threat, and run-ending threat. And then we got the second column, weapons used by dummies, weaponless dummies, Shine, Mad Murderer. Then after that is Bob M on a stick, belt, comically large spoon, fork, and knife. Built different in crowbar, London, crowbar, scythe, random rumble, protest, and then like the run ending threat all the way at the bottom, the dang, dragon slayer, stick, fire axe, and pipe. And here's the technique for each takeout, I guess. Threatless, obvious. Any weapon should do. They die. Even a bottle in protest, that wins. That's just how weak they are. For low threat dummies, any weapon should do the trick as long as these weapons don't do low damage. They do decent damage. C tier weapons, you know, D and C tier weapons, not complete F tier weapons. But the Shine and Mad Murderers, they're still easy to take out. Any weapon should really do still. Medium threat, some of these might require ranged weapons to take them out because of the built different. They take 50% less damage. They have 100 health like we do. They're very tanky. They can knock you back. The Bob M on a stick that can just not one-shot you, but it will leave you open for a while because of the ragdoll. It does high damage and they move very quick. The other weapons can kill you decently quick. Not super quick, but just at a quicker pace than the weaponless ones. High threat. You might want to have an actual strategy for these guys. You should almost fight them 90% of the time with ranged weapons. They do a lot of damage really quickly, especially scythes in London. Protest got added to this threat level because, like I said earlier, it stun locks indefinitely. And dummies have that too. They can stun lock you indefinitely too. You might be quick, but you get slowed down, so I really do not recommend fighting a protest dummy. It seems weak, but don't let the stupid sign fool you because it actually can kill you. The 1.6.0 update added that stun lock, and Random Rumble can also juggle you quickly with its fast attack rate and stun. The attack rate of combat dummies also got increased from 1 hit to 2 hits per second. It was tested and confirmed. I've also done that myself. I don't know why they needed a buff, but I guess. And we got the last one, run ending threats, the dang, dragon slayer, fire axe, stick and pipe. Those are like, they one-shot you. Either they one-shot you, they kill you in like 0.1 seconds, stun lock you. Like I said, it's just horrible. It is not good. These should be taken out the second you see one and before any other dummy threat because of either high damage weapons or continuous ragdoll like pipe. So the dang, it'll stun lock you and then just do easy follow up and just immediately one shot you. If, however, you're a Joy Mutant or you have lots of HP, you're a big tank class for some reason, you can survive it, but I don't recommend it. If it was by accident and it just happened, that's fine, but I don't recommend trying to tank just so you can get a free kill on it, or your teammates get a free kill. Not really recommend doing that. Like I said earlier, I'd be giving the bosses their own section, so here we are. We'll go in order of easiest to hardest. First up, no boss. Well, if you manage to get lucky, then woohoo! You have no bosses to fight. You will have ads to fight, but it is a regular wave. So, it features all 4 dummy variants. Nothing special, just dummies. Second, we have Drag Combat. Drag Combat makes this corresponding wave replace the default enemies with only combat vampires. Both of these enemies steal HP, the boss included, I'm pretty sure. And they also have 100 HP, the ads, like a normal player, so it is advised to use ranged weapons on dealing with them, rather than melee weapons to avoid any casualties. However, do note in that some situations, using a melee may be better than using a ranged item, like a Dragon Slayer, the dang, it stun locks them, they can't fight back against that. Despite how easy it looks to dodge, Drag Combat's Lightning Strike is kind of impossible to dodge unless you have like a super high amount of speed, a parry item, or Franklin Badge, I guess? I never heard of Franklin Badge actually working on bosses, but it can work if you want. Pair that with a fair amount of time, you'll be actually shocked. Drag Combat can easily latch onto you, stack poison damage, and healing alongside him, so, like, yeah, try not to get meleeed. It heals him, it poisons you, it's just no good. His abilities are also pretty damn annoying. He can TP a lot, so I recommend not using high hit weapons. Not high DPS, but high hit rate weapons, like Michael P. I think he has a chance of teleporting per hit. I haven't really tested that, but I know combat mages do that, so try to avoid, like, screaming too much near him. I also suggest avoiding the lightning strike and poison orbs the most, as they can easily mess you up. I also suggest standing behind him within backstabbing distance, as he tries to melee the air for some reason, instead of actually the player. I don't know why this happens, and if it still works, but yeah, try it, I guess, if you want to test that first. If you're in a group, try to do it anyways, because, you know, the strongest melee user can just easily go behind him, backstab him, just beat him up, and he can't even do anything about it because he's hitting the air and he thinks it's somebody there. It's a very useful strategy to use in a group because he hits nobody, you get free damage, everybody wins. And also, even though he's a vampire, he's not unholy, question mark? So I don't know why. Don't use the Bible on him, it will not do double damage, save that for the ads instead. Third, we got Sir Combat. Ever since his buff, he's actually way harder to deal with now, which is why I find him a little more difficult than the vampires. He actually sprints really quick to catch up to players, targets the statue, he's always done that, and will launch projectiles at faraway players. Sir Combat has a total of 2 phases, the second one triggered upon lowering his health to below half. During this time, he will imbue his sword with Holy Flame, not normal fire, but like this cool white flame, I guess, causing all of his attacks, including his abilities, to guarantee a burn on affected players. He will only attack the silly statue if there's no players in sight though. If he sees you, he'll probably hit you instead. I will now go over each of his abilities and how to deal with each one of them. The basic one, Slash. In melee range, Sir Combat will attack the nearest player with a sword in a series of swings that lunge him forward with each attack, dealing 15 damage and weaken knockback per swing. This can be very hard to dodge, but any parry items could easily wreck this guy. Trust me, you can just full parry his combos. Just jump and move around in circles a lot. Also try to hang out near the statue and get some changes in elevation to throw him off. Flame Wave. Sir Combat will slash at the air, creating a physical projectile in the direction he swung at. He does this if he's too far from you, or if he just feels like it. It deals 15 damage, weak knockback in Ragdoll, and sets anyone on fire for a few seconds. You can jump over this and dodge it though. Trust me, it's pretty easy too, especially for high jump power, so just try to juke him out. The Shockwave is one of the more annoying attacks, because Sir Combat will stop in place and plant his sword into the ground before causing it to erupt, doing 25 damage and launching back those in the radius. It's pretty high knockback, so watch out. This hitbox is a bit deceptive, but as always, try to stay a bit far from it. I don't recommend trying to like do this weird hitbox gambling game where you, oh, it's 1 second ended, I'll go in. No, don't do that. Just wait till it's all done, then you rush him. Just try to poke him a lot after he's doing it because he gets a bit stunned after he takes a moment to recuperate. So once he's done with it, poke him a bit and then run away again. Charge is the one I brought up earlier. If Sir Combat's target is far away enough, Sir Combat will rush at the nearest player until he gets close enough to attack, and then he'll just do his normal slash M1s right after. But like I said, don't get too far because he'll charge at you, and unless you can kill him quicker than the statue dies, yeah, I don't recommend letting him just hit the statue because he'll target that instead of you if you're too far. And last but not least, Minos Dummy. Undeniably the hardest mini-boss due to his fast attacks and capability to almost one-shot, and usually one-shot. Minos Dummy needs a lot of practice to deal with and actually, like, win against, so I recommend lots of prep and practice. You also kind of sadly need some pretty good items, and at least a speed boost if you don't have a good skill. You can at least use a speed boost to fill in for that, because I don't know why Minos hates speed boost so much, but he's way easier with one. If you can time it correctly, use a Legion Kata if obtained. The parry and dodge can easily stall attacks if you're not granted any speed buffs, or other movement items. The crush slash die attack shouldn't be too hard to dodge, as you can just move to the right or left. Not that hard, just jump over it, it's very easy. On the contrary, the judgment attack is actually pretty hard to dodge, as you usually don't have much time to react to it fast enough. It is heavily advised to stay spam jumping and moving once Minos Dummy spawns in, because this is how you die to him. If you don't move, if you don't do anything, he'll just literally teleport behind you, just instantly wipe you. So what I recommend doing is spam jumping, just move in circles, and once you see him, just keep doing it, because once he's within melee distance, then he'll stop. You can stop doing it once he reaches you, but until you see him, keep doing that. Or within melee distance, I mean. He can cover massive distances really quickly. He teleports. I don't know if actual Minos does. I mean, he kind of does, I guess, with Judgment, but I don't know. It's kind of scary. When Minos Dummy prepares his Judgment attack, try to run perpendicular to where he's facing, i.e. left, right. This will most likely cause Minos to miss his kick. So when you hear him finish his sentence or get close to finishing, jump away, move in a circle, or just, get away from him. Try to do what I said there. I recommend going perpendicular while jumping, because if you don't jump, it's very hard to dodge it. During a group run, attempt to have one player stall a Minos by circling a building while the rest defend the statue. If you are playing solo, plan accordingly for all the combat dummies headed your way. You will probably die and get overwhelmed really quickly. Always deal with the ads first, then Minos last. You only gotta deal with 25% of the wave, 33%. It's a very weird number, I'm not sure how it works, but once all the ads are gone, you see no more, then you can focus Minos. And here's a little bonus section I'm calling Rabel's Wisdom. I asked one of my friends for tips and tricks on how to deal with the perfect run for Uncertified, and what better way to gather information than ask another IA player. Some of the stuff might be repeated information, but cut me some slack. I asked this before I even thought about recording this. It at least shows we have the same ideas and strategies, and it's always good to share information before doing a perfect run.
The only tips that I can think of the top of my head when it comes to uncertified PR is that ideally you want enough people covering all the lanes, because it happens very often that one side will run out of things to kill, so they'll run to the other looking for more to do, and then they leave their own lane unprotected.
I agree. Try to spread out evenly, or if the dummies happen to spawn in one spot, then you can usually just group up and lock down that lane.
Also that it's okay to let the dummies hit the statue for a bit if you yourself can die.
The statue is very tanky, especially in small groups. Don't be afraid to let some camis or combat dummies leak. You can let 20 leak, and that's only 5k health gone. And if you have that much to work with, go ahead, do it. If it saves you from dying, then yeah, go ahead.
When we did it, we only had to deal with 1-2 spawn points, so we didn't have much to worry about, but even then we'd have a left side, go to the right side and leave a left side unprotected. Also, Sully Gas is a very good item cause it covers a lane by itself for a short while unless you're dealing with the bats.
Silly Gas is exceptionally good at area denial and ad clear, but like he said, it does not work with combat vampires. They just simply have too much health and lifesteal to die from it. So you need to get them sort of low, but not one shot, because it won't one shot them, but it'll keep them in check. It'll stop the regen. It'll like kind of keep that stunted, if that makes sense. So once they're in the Silly Gas, that's when you follow up, because they're already dying really quick.
Some other stuff that I can think of the top of my head is that stuff like chickens, shriekers, and whatever are useful for stalling and eating commas, but they fall off in usefulness as you progress through the waves.
Yeah, but what about golems? Chicken and shriekers are actually quite useful for tanking camis too, and other things regardless. But the golems are quite good. They do high damage.
Oh yeah, forgot golems were a thing. Golems sponge the most, so they're the most useful of the summonable things. Also, high damage leads to free kills.
Exactly, high HP and damage leads to them putting real work in large numbers. Once you get 3 to 4 golems in, boom, easy.
Wasn't Slayer Sword a regular item you could get during Uncertified?
Not anymore.
The mini-boss wave tends to be the run killer, at least for solo runs.
Yeah, especially Minos. Ideally, you'd want the easier bosses or no bosses at all.
I think Minos is probably the hardest boss you can get cause his thing is hard to dodge. If you don't circle strafe in the air or something, circumbat is whatever I guess. The Count and the Bats are deceptively tough to take on and they can kill you super quick.
Yeah, Sir Combat was whatever before, but ever since they buffed him, he's actually quite annoying now, especially paired with the ads. Jack Combat is also annoying, but with worse ads. The boss itself is easier, I feel like, so it kind of balances out, I guess. One has hard ads, one has easy boss, and vice versa.
Worst possible scenario would be like 2 or 3 Minos.
Yeah, that happened to me a few days ago. We lost.
Combat King isn't too bad, but he can be super hard to kill if her range sucks, or if you can't outmaneuver him during second phase.
Yeah, once all the ads are gone, it's just you and the final boss. It gets super easy from there. Just dodge, keep your distance, and you're done. Like you said though, if you can't manage to dodge or kill him fast, it could be quite difficult.
Those are the only tips I can think of when it comes to uncertified PR. Other stuff is more obvious, like, don't melee the soldiers.
Yeah, pretty obvious. It's always good to mention it though. Not unless you have the stick. But I'm kind of half kidding, don't melee them. Usually it's better to just gang up on 1 or 2 and just shoot them. Anyway, thank you for your enlightening words, Robble. Anyway, I know this was kind of long, but hopefully this video helps you become a better and more experienced Asylumer. Maybe this video will secretly bless you, give you good RNG next time you PR Uncertified. Okay, anyway, bye.